Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. The three of us had fun meeting in person last night, and we really enjoyed the time together. And usually, on our other topics for the podcast, we come not knowing really what we're going to talk about. But last night, we chose a subject for today because Jessica had to have some dental work done. So we decided we would talk about the energy of teeth and how we take care of our teeth. I found this online. I'll give credit to who it's from, RainaDentalCare.com. And it's called an article on the spiritual meaning of teeth. And it gives a diagram of the teeth and numbers each one, and then tells the emotions or thought patterns that are associated with each of the teeth. But I wanted to read one comment they had made about the spiritual meaning of teeth. It says spiritual meaning. Oh, first they say that cavities are one of the first signs that something's wrong in your body or with your spiritual thing. And so, like other illness or sickness, right? If you get cold symptoms or flu symptoms or um, things, it's kind of like your body signals to you, right? That you've encountered things that aren't healthy for you and you need to do something about it. And so they're saying that that's what cavities or other things are for. And they say the spiritual meaning of tooth decay explains that you don't stick to your routine very much, of taking care of your spiritual self and your emotional self, or your body as well. Say that you refuse to accept your creative needs because you do not trust yourself. The spiritual meaning of truth decay further illustrates the lack of self-confidence and trust. So I just thought that's interesting.
That's one cavity?
Cavity or tooth decay in general, I think they're talking about problems with your teeth. Um, but I just wanted to share one of these things. Um, a number of 10 to 12 years ago, maybe something like that. Um, one morning, it was just all of a sudden the back of one of my front bottom teeth fell off. Right, the front is fine, and the base is very secure in my gum, and there's no gum problem. But the back just fell off one day, and so I've worked over the last 12 years then to try to keep my teeth as healthy as I can, so that that tooth can stay still usable and good, that I don't have to do something further dental wise with it to take care of it. But I was interesting. So then when I pulled this up and looked at it, it says it numbers these teeth, and all the four front bottom teeth are all part of the kidney and bladder, it says. And that stems from fear, shame, guilt, shyness, helplessness, and deep exhaustion. And for me, the fear, shame, and helplessness really uh, pinpoint me in problems I've had in my life, right, or difficulties with those emotions. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't have a chart. I should have thought to look for one before, but I have seen the chart, not the spiritual part of it, but the organs that the body's connected to. So I know that, there were connections to the different organs. And then, then the organs are connected to different emotions. So that completely makes sense. Do you have the chart further? Does it say anything about molars?
Yes,
You?
top or bottom molars, and which ones? Like, it. I don't know if this is. I think the wisdom teeth are extra. It doesn't really. Yeah, the wisdom teeth show extra, so they're not listed in this. But like is it like some of the molars are different? Like the first molars, on each side, top and bottom, um, are about heart and small intestine. And so they list loneliness, grief, humiliation, inhibition, lack of joy, and feeling unlovable. But then if you go on to the next two in were about spleen, pancreas, and stomach. And that's about anxiety, self-punishment, hate, low self-worth, and obsessiveness. And then the next one, that's about lung and large intestines, about chronic grief, sadness, feeling trapped, being dogmatic, compulsive, and uptight. Well, some of those were kind of me too.
What I think is interesting, because I always think there's higher powers trying to sabotage certain things, but I was in the group in the early 90s. There was a period of time, because I don't think they do it anymore, with braces. So all of us who got braces in those like 80s, late 80s to maybe mid 90s, maybe a little beyond, they automatically just took those first molars out on top and bottom. You automatically just had them all removed. So,
Really?
it's weird. But it was a very common thing. And so, those were automatically, because, you had if you had braces, you had most likely overcrowding. And so that was their recommendation, was just to remove 4 teeth automatically and then just put the braces on and start pushing everything back. Right.
Wow.
So I always wondered, like, what, and there may not be some big evil plan behind it, but it makes me think, why did that happen, to that group of people my age, where they just took 4 teeth automatically. And then I always wondered what it was with, the wisdom teeth. They automatically, because I wasn't having any problems with my wisdom teeth. But my freshman year of college, when I came home, and it was, again, a common thing at that time, if your dentist saw your wisdom teeth, you just had them removed.
Yeah, I've
So,
heard that too. I know I have my wisdom teeth. I didn't have any problem at all. One of my children had to remove theirs because of it wasn't he had not cavities. He had braces too. They didn't remove his. It was probably at least 2001 or 2 or 3, something like in that range when he had braces, and they did not remove his molars. But later, then his wisdom teeth came in, like college age, right when they come in, and he had to have them removed for at some point. But I think he had problems with them of some kind. It just wasn't for no reason. But
yeah. I always just wondered how that affected, the rest of your body. Even at that time, I wondered, I didn't know. And then why they just automatically, not everybody, but, a lot of people just had their wisdom teeth automatically removed, even if they're not having issues. If they're having issues, I understand the concern. Like my 2 boys have had some pain and different issues with theirs, but I just thought it was interesting. What is it we're removing or disconnecting there?
Well, very, very true. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
very, very
yeah,
true. There's often, as we have found out especially in the last few years, right? In the last 5 years, a lot of it's come to light showing ulterior motives behind why things are done the way they are. Um,
yeah,
so, but I
yeah.
wonder, like you said, even if it was an ulterior motive, though, what, I've never read anything about what harm it does in having those removed. Say, like, does that hurt other parts of your body? You know, where your molars were automatically removed. What else does that hurt? I mean, beside your gum and placement of your other teeth, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
once I don't know, I can't remember the braces. For some reason, I'm having trouble remembering the word braces today. Anyway, so once your braces are removed, with those placeholders out of place, right? Your molars, wouldn't that cause your teeth not to keep to shift back a little?
I don't think they do in most
Um,
people, but that's why you wear retainers usually for a while.
Oh,
And some
okay.
people are kind of lifelong. I've never I wore my retainers through college, but um, I've never had as much shifting as other people have had. Um, yeah, my issues stem from infections and root canals then, which is a whole other issue that I need to delve
Mhm.
into more. Why they deaden a tooth and then keep a dead tooth in place, cover it with something, and then it allows, infection to form, which is what I've had now three times. And now I will never get another root canal, and did not with my one son who was recommended to have a root canal. We said no, and he just had it removed. And I said, kid, you're going to have to get that fixed later on in life if you want to, or just have have a hole there. But you're not having a root canal. So that's a whole other, having a dead kind of body part per se in there, and then having that risk for infection. It's just an interesting thing, and all the other things that can affect body wise and spirit wise.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Ramie, did you find any different information?
I've I've had issues with my teeth all my life, and it's interesting because really I'm a very very healthy person, except I have celiac, so that's not so healthy, and it's your gut, right? But I maintain it with diet and exercise and all that I do. But it rings so true. The teeth, especially the back teeth, and my dentist told me the reason we have wisdom teeth to take out is to make room for your mouth. Well, then the question is, why did they come in the first place? Why, just to
Right.
take
Right.
them out? I
Right.
mean, yeah, what is all that about? And so, yeah, my teeth, oh my God. And I really wouldn't have fixed them until you know, my husband told me to go fix them because he's always flossing, he's always, maintenance with his teeth. And I kind of ignored it because it hurt. And those reasons that you cited, loneliness, obsession, all that rang so true. And in my younger years where I didn't even know, and I was so ashamed because I didn't have the money to go to the dentist, and I didn't like the way I looked, and blah, blah, blah. But it's so true. And the books that I've read, or the essays I've read about teeth, one side is father and one side is mother. Does she go into that article? In
I
the
didn't
article?
see that in this article. But
Yeah.
like in the biofield, right, that makes sense, right? Because
Right.
the masculine energies as
It's
are on the
love.
right hand side, as well as the father's ancestral line is is on the
Right.
right hand side, whereas the female type energies of your own self plus all of your mother's ancestors ancestral line information is on the left. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I read, the whatever side, and see how it rings true to you. Now, I have to say that my mother was probably more verbal, and my dad kept to himself. And there was a lot of shame with my dad. I don't know why. Maybe because he was captured. I have no clue. But it rings true. It just rings really true. And I'm so grateful that I finally addressed that problem because I do feel better. And yeah, and it's much better to have teeth in your mouth than not. But it's a huge problem if you don't have the care and the money and the time and yeah. And I love getting into what side of the mouth it is and the reasons. Yeah.
Yeah,
And this
that's
is,
interesting.
it is. And each tooth means something. Like this side is your dad, this side is your mom, and it really got in depth. I can't find the article, but it's out there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Well, talk about flossing. Like you said, your husband did. I flossed for years because the dentist had said, well, you need to floss, right? And plus, I was using a regular toothbrush and a regular um, bought and store toothpaste, right, with all the good fluoride junk in it and everything. And so probably again 12 years ago, about the time that losing the backside of my tooth made me realize then um, more about tooth care. I had always been more concerned about gum care because my dad had had really good teeth, but a really bad gum disease.
Mm.
And and so and the gum disease had caused him to eventually have to pull his good teeth because the gums wouldn't hold the teeth anymore.
Right.
And so anyways, but then I started looking at my teeth after the back of the one fell off, and I realized, well, I was I don't know, getting close to 50 or 50 at that point or something, around that age probably, and I noticed my gums were receding some. So that's why I started researching more on learning about tooth care. And so I went with I read more about flossing and an article that had a negative side to flossing, and that kind of made sense to me. And then, of course, I learned about the fluoride in the toothpaste and other stuff that I didn't want in my mouth anymore. And then I had been using. I always liked like a medium bristle brush so that it felt like I was scrubbing it, right? To get it clean. So I went with soft bristles and a natural toothpaste that I made. I'll put a link below um, in the replay about a link to the recipe, right? Or several recipes that you could use to make your own toothpaste. But the one I was using at the time was coconut oil and baking soda. And I think there was something else in it. I'm not sure. It was either bentonite clay or charcoal were are kind of regular components as well as like peppermint oil maybe or something essential oil. And so I started using that. And, it wasn't very long, like months later was all. It didn't take all that long. And my gums started to regrow. And so
Wow.
you could see new tissue where it had already decreased around the teeth, that the gum tissue had lowered, so more of the tooth was showing. And then the gum was fresh and new and regrowing. It was really nice. Yeah, really neat to see.
Yeah, and I didn't make toothpaste, but I bought doTERRA's toothpaste. Have you tried that? I like that one.
I've used it before in the
Yeah,
past. Yeah.
yeah. But I'd like to make my own, so I'll read your recipe because it's cheaper, I'm sure.
My whole life I have trouble following recipes. I just can't. I'm too creative.
Yeah, me
That's-
too.
And so anyway, but so I use the same ingredients. I just do it to a consistency, and of course that sometimes varies depending on the temperature in the air, because the coconut oil, solidifies at what, 77 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, is when it changes from liquid to more of a solid component. And so that varies how much you use in your recipes.
What do you put is it like toothpaste? Is it that consistency?
No,
Or
it's
is it more
not
oily?
smooth like that. Well, it's again, it depends on the coconut oil, right? So if it's summertime, it's going to be pretty soft, really soft. Um, if it's winter, like now, I have to use a spoon to carve out, a chunk of it that I can put in my mouth and start doing. And charcoal, is supposed to be for like a brightener, whitener type thing, even though, it's kind of contrary to what you'd think because it's black, right? But it's supposed to be whitening, but I don't think it helps. Well, my teeth should be white then, but they're not, because when I was a teenager, or junior high, I had real bad acne, that was scarring acne and cystic or whatever they call that. And so the dermatologist, my mother took me to a dermatologist, and he had put me on antibiotics. So I took antibiotics for 2 or 3 years. I'm sure it was low grade or something, but it was aimed at not scarring from the acne, and yes, it helped. But it also, we found out later, is what caused my teeth to be more not a bright white color. So they're dingy or looking. They're clean, everybody. That's just that that's what happened from antibiotic use, as well as probably destroying gut bio. Right, Jessica?
For
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. One round of antibiotics in your lifetime and you'll never have the same gut bacteria. You can try to restore, but you'll never have, from what I've studied. Yeah, never.
Yeah. What else do you guys have done to like take care of your teeth?
I have Kangen water, and so if I remember, I'll rinse my mouth with it. It's really good. Kangen is a
Congo.
Japanese word for return to life or return to life or spring. But I have the water machine, and it gives you structured water, but it's a unit that talks to you. It talks when you turn it on. So I drink 9.5 alkaline water. But when you first start, you probably just want to start with 8.0 alkaline water because your system's not ready. But I've been drinking it for years, so I'm 9.5. But then there's another level between the three, and it's called beauty water. And you can use it for your plants and your complexion, And then there's another water, 2.0, that's just the cleanest, pure, you can use for cleaning. So they have these levels, and you just push the button and it'll go to that level. So when I remember to swish water with the Beauty 5.0, then my teeth become whiter. So, but I don't remember.
Interesting.
It is.
Cool.
Yeah,
Um,
the machine costs $3,000, but I've had it 10 years, and it's so worth it. So very worth it. It's a funny story how I got it, but because I certainly didn't have $3,000 that day. I love it. The plants love it. Yeah, it's good stuff. And then it broke down for a month, and I had to wait for them to refurbish it. So thankfully, one of my clients that when I was traveling, she bought the machine also, and then she mailed it back to me.
uh,
And I went,
wow.
whoa, I have two now. And so I gave the other one to Jeff. So I just used his water while they were repairing mine, because you do get addicted to it. Because like the water at the restaurant I was drinking last night, I could almost gag. It was that awful, especially because I asked for no ice. Oh, it was awful, but I was so thirsty. But yeah. Anyway, that helps with your teeth and your gut and your plants and your skin. And the lady that sold it to me, she would get a little spray bottle of 0.5, and during the day she would just spritz her face, just to wake up and be alive. And she had beautiful skin too. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, Ramie, why don't you send me a link after we get done, and I'll put that down below for anyone who's interested
Oh,
in more
sure.
information about that. Okay.
Yeah, pond and water. Yeah.
Yeah. In my tooth care routine, I also do, um, I grow an herb. I grow lots of herbs in my garden, and a lot of medicinal weeds just grow naturally that it's so wonderful to have in my yard. But I ordered these plants and have been growing them for, I don't know, 5 years now, I guess, at home. And they're an aquatic plant. The roots have to sit in water, but it's horsetail plant, and there's different kinds of horsetail, but this one is equisetum. That's the Latin word for horsetail, and then the variety name is hyemale. And so I'll put list that down below in case anyone wanted to do a search to purchase that somewhere online. I find it on eBay, but I get it in as the cut herb that's been dried, and I put it in a coffee grinder and powderize it. And then I put that powder, you start like with a half teaspoon or something, and you can work up to 1 teaspoon a day or something. And I just put it in a glass of water with other vitamins I'm taking. But if you're a child, it'll cause your enamel to regrow on your teeth. If it, as an adult, I don't think it does that to that extent. But um, if I have tooth pain from that one tooth that the back fell off, then within a day or two of taking the horsetail, then the pain is gone. And I know my husband finds that as well on some dental work that he had done that has to be redone. And so the hyemale, the equisetum hyemale, the horsetail, takes the pain away really good and keeps it healthy. Obviously, because I've had this tooth 12 years without the back, and you'd think, well, surely it would have decayed by now. And um, so I find that to be very good. But you have to, one caution, I don't know, it doesn't come with the packaging or anything that I found, but I've read this in an herbal information, is that you have to be careful because something in the plant, I don't know if it's the silica level or some other level of something it's made of, can build up too much in your body. So you have to give yourself a break. So you either use it for 20 days and then take a 10-day break. But for me, by the 10th day, sometimes my tooth is hurting again. So I take it for 10 days and then off 5, and then 10 days and off 5. So you still have like an easy monthly cycle to keep instead of on for 20 and off for 10.
I just found this. Can you see?
Mm-hmm. What is it?
Anyway, it's charcoal and
Oh,
it's
mm-hmm,
toothpaste, but it's
mm-hmm.
powdered. And I found it at the dollar store.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
used it, oh, it's the cleanest I've ever had. Yeah, it's real clean, and it does whiten your teeth eventually.
Is
Now,
it pure
yeah,
charcoal? That's what you found?
yeah, charcoal powder. And it has coconut in it. And I
Okay.
forgot I had it until we started talking about it. Yeah, that's all it says is coconut.
Well, that's amazing
Well,
to find it at a dollar store.
Yeah.
oh, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fluoride free and made with coconut. And I don't know what, I can't see it right now. But anyway, yeah, It's powder, and I just put it on my brush and brush my teeth. Yeah, I forgot I had it, but it's really good. But it's black when you brush your teeth. It's
Mm-hmm.
black, and then when you rinse, it goes away. Yeah, so it's
Well,
pretty
and
cool.
it is, but
Oh,
one caution for, or I shouldn't say caution for anybody who wants to try the charcoal or the toothpaste with coconut oil in it, because coconut oil solidifies at colder temperatures, right? And it's not real cold, even like 77 degrees or something, much colder than that, and it's going to be solid. And so what happens if you're like regular toothpaste, you spit it out into the sink, right? So if you're continually spitting out coconut oil into the sink, it's going to build up in your pipes.
mm-hmm.
And so it's much better to spit it in the trash, is what I
Yeah,
found, instead of
the same.
trying to run enough hot water to keep it anyway,
Right.
Yeah,
to
I
keep
have
it
these
soft.
compostable cups, um, and that's what I've used over the years because I go on and off with oil pulling, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'll use it for a while, and then go off it for a while. But I will have a spit cup, I guess you can call
Mm-hmm.
it, but it's
Yeah.
compostable, so then I can
Yeah.
just yeah
I
not feel
learned
bad about it.
oil pool when I went to the ashram to learn yoga. We spent an afternoon just learning about oil pooling, and
Hmm.
it's pretty powerful,
Can you talk about it? Can
Oh, I
a
don't,
little bit?
yeah. I think it was coconut oil, but I don't like coconuts, so I think I used almond oil, some kind of oil, and you put it in your mouth and you swish it. And you're supposed to do it for 20 minutes, but I couldn't do it 20 minutes. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then you can feel all the sludge and the yuckiness of your mouth, and then you release it. And the yogis believe in it because they believe that you will heal through your mouth because the mouth is the gateway to your soul,
Hmm.
and as you expel, you get rid of all the old toxins by oil pooling, and you should do that at least once a week. They didn't recommend it every day, but once a week, just use the oil, put it in your mouth, swish as long as you can, and then spit it out, reject it. Yeah. And it does give you a really good feeling, especially if you're sick. Especially if
Hmm.
you're sick. Yeah. So,
Interesting. Have you found that, Jessica?
No, not necessarily, but my body is quite interesting. It takes a lot for my body to feel things because I've done oil pulling for years, and put different oils in it. Like we talked about the clove oil, um, and it's hard to say. Like maybe things would have been worse if I hadn't, but it hasn't. My body seems to be either resistant to a lot of things, or again, maybe it would be worse if I didn't do it. But yeah, it hasn't. Well, I shouldn't say that. So I oil pulled when I started. I knew I had a cavity and an infection in one of my eye teeth, and this was probably early 2000s. So this is going on 20 years, and that's when I started learning about the oil pulling, and so did it very religiously because I had the dentist I was using thought I was, crazy, but I was using the herbs and the oil pulling and started using natural toothpaste. And I went back to him and he said, I don't see a cavity anymore. So at that time it did help, but that tooth eventually I did have to have pulled because then over a decade later, the infection did come back. And I continued the oil pulling, but at that point I was telling you the infection went up into my, I'm sure it was through my sinuses or something, but up into my eye, and it sat there for years because I couldn't, afford to do anything about it at the time. And I was oil pulling and doing charcoal and herbs and, all the things. But, this is when I was in severe stress as well. working night shift, drinking lots of coffee, eating mostly organic, but still working night shift, drinking lots of coffee, lots of stress within my life with my single mom kids, that life stresses, money. And so I think all the oil pulling in the world, you know, if you have the other stuff going on. So, and I had, I've always had chronic sinus infections. I'll get sick, you know, 3-4 times a year. I remember in junior high and high school, I would literally have to carry Kleenex boxes around with me, like through the winter, because I was just blowing my nose and blowing my nose. And so I don't think the oil pulling really, it wasn't until I started changing my gut that issue, the chronic sinus issue started going away. And of course we can talk on that, but now that I've continued to do gut cleanses, and I'm starting another one tomorrow, because we need to, depending on how you eat, you need to be cleansing, in my opinion, so many times a year. But that's, I think cleansing my gut is when I started seeing more help or resolution of the getting sick or the colds and things like that. And then staying on the green drinks and all the healthy superfoods on a daily basis. I literally have to stay on that stuff on a daily basis, but it's still, the stress will get you too. And that's, I think, where, you know, a lot of times the teeth issues come, because, you know, I'm doing all those things. I'm not working night shift anymore. I'm still, you know, in the hospital, and that's extremely stressful for me, and I feel it. But so, when I get to a point where I'm a yogi over in India, no worries, no bills, no anything, maybe then I'll just be perfect and just.
No, that's not going to happen.
I know. I'm dreaming, Ramie. Let me dream.
Oh, dream. But what, you know, that's all I do is release stress for my clients. But I also think I think stress can kill you, you know, so much stress. So, you know, and, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know any of these tools while I was going through my dark night of the soul, my illnesses, you know, stress. But you know what I'm fascinated with is, I really want to study sinus issues, because when I took my training in NLP, they had a person who had sinuses all their life, and the instructor took him back to childhood, and it's always a moment in childhood that someone said something, and it affected you so much that you took it on internally, which developed into sinuses. And
that makes total sense to me, because I've had sinus problems since I was little. And I can imagine. I know, just as you spoke, it rang so true in me, exactly what it was I'm sure it was when I was 3 and had some trauma, right?
Well, this girl that they demonstrated the procedure on, he took her back to about 3-4 years old, and she was little, and I don't know what her parents said, but it just so happened that it was really dusty in the room, and she inhaled that dust. And from the dust, she has the sinus issues. And it was something derogatory toward her, or she took it that way. And when he pinpointed that moment and told her, it's not your fault, it's okay to heal, she never had sinus issues again. So I know it has something to do with, you know, so it's just finding that moment in time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because sinus issues is so, I mean, I had it when I smoked, and I hated it, just totally. And I can't imagine living a whole life with sinus issues. You know, I couldn't talk sometimes. My throat, it just, it's awful. But we'll have to explore that sometime.
Well, definitely. It's very related to teeth, but it's a whole separate issue by itself. But I was just looking at the time. It's getting close to kind of the time. that we talk about, but of limiting the podcast to. But I would like to grab my tuning forks here, and we'll tune our teeth, okay? And everybody who listens, tune it for stress relief from our teeth, okay? So let me grab those. So anyone listening, you can close your eyes if you want, or you could not. You can watch or whatever. I'm just going to be striking the fork here on a hockey puck, and just hold the intention to allow all the stress from your teeth to clear, to keep us healthier. I feel fear and worry, regrets, I feel it in my eyes now. Shows the connection between sinuses and eyes. I meant between teeth and eyes. And the throat, I feel it in the throat now. And I feel it going to the root, right? The root energy by our tailbone is about safety and security, right? Abundance, or the fear of lack thereof. And I feel it all the way down to my toes. I don't being stuck, right? Stuck or mired in unhealthy would be like left foot energy. Right foot would be trepidation, perhaps, about moving forward in your life. Going to do a little bit aimed right now just for pain, if anybody has tooth pain. And if you find yourself yawning like I just did, or coughing or burping, it is usually just energy clearing. And while I was using the fork, I heard a little echoing on it. So I wore a headset today because we had echo problems before we started, and it seemed to me like the microphone or having the headset on helped, but I don't know how that's going to pick up the fork noise and stuff. So people listening, I don't know how it's going to happen. So that just is how it is. But I'm going to do a few strikes with the 528 fork here to bring calm. And the 528 is also about DNA repair. And so let's address um, ancestral issues, right, with our teeth and what we inherit from our parents, but other ancestors as well. Oh. And one more. All right. We'll
Thank you.
call. You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. We also have a Facebook group. We're just kind of getting started where we'll be eventually adding more, and eventually we'll be on it communicating more. So hang in there with us while we get used to all this new technology for me anyway, learning how to use it all and set it all up. And Ramie and Jessica, so wonderful to be with you guys last night and again this morning. So
Very nice.
thank you, everyone, and we'll see you
Good meet.
next week. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye.